Welcome, welcome. It is Thursday night, and your ass should be planted in your chair watching us talk about horror movies every Thursday night at 7:30 in the East, 6:30 in the Central. While you're at it, please hit the subscribe button. We finally made it to 700 subscribers. We are in the big times. We've got 702 subscribers. Yes. Anyway, yeah, Seth is happy too. I dropped some fucking chili on my table. God damn. Anyway, so tonight we're here. I don't know where Jared is. Jared, if you're out there, you're needed in the show. Anyway, with me tonight, as always, is Seth T. Miller with his great looking background.
What's up, everyone?
We've got Nathan Thomas Miller. Everybody's got a regular name but me. Let me change my name back. Nate, how you doing tonight?
Good.
Great. Seth, how are you? I didn't ask. I didn't care either, so never mind. I'm joking. Hopefully everybody's well. Yeah. You know what? You're the reason we're doing this episode. Anyway, first question out the gate. Who likes the Paranormal Activity movies? That is my number one question. What's up? Anybody out there, if you like the Paranormal Activities, let me know. Let us know. Let us know which one is your favorite, all that jazz. What do you like about it? I don't hate them. I thought going into, especially after I wrote, I think I either ranked them or did an article on them early on with the Horror Syndicate, like defending them because my brother-in-law hated them. And I'm like, well, that might be a thing. People might hate all these movies. So I went ahead and wrote an article kind of defending them and why they're okay movies. I should have read it because I have no idea what I wrote, honestly, to this day. But it turns out people don't hate them as much as I thought. We got a hands up here. I like some of them pretty good. Haven't seen any. Well, they're all right.
Well, you won't have to after this one.
Yeah. We watch them so you don't have to, as my friends used to say. Nate, you missed out on about half of them, and you got to catch up this week. What are your first impressions?
Yeah, I had seen 4 through 6. It was. I remember really loving the first one and second one when I saw them in theaters. Going back to them, it was a little different, I guess. These films are kind of, especially the early ones. It's kind of an experience that you're going through, so replay possibilities are not exactly the same because it's more like you're living through the moment of watching this footage. And once you know how things play out and what happens, because it's not exactly classic narrative storytelling. You're not on a regular story. You're watching something. That's how I found footage. It's like you're watching something that's supposed to be real. Right. So it's not traditional in the way it is. Like Blair Witch is a little easier to go back and watch, I guess, because it's not really repetition. Because the paranormal movies are like, all right, night 1, night 2, night 3, little things happen, but you're watching kind of the same shot over and over kind of thing. And whereas Blair Witch, they're on a path. There's things happening. They're discovering things. It's like almost a road movie type structure in that, but they're not on the road. They're in the woods, but it's like they're constantly moving and going somewhere else and uncovering things. Whereas Paranormal Activity is this kind of slow descent into new things are happening every night, but you're pretty much in the same space. So watching them again wasn't the same, but I still feel they were highly effective movies, and I just from an independent filmmaking stance, like if any independent filmmaker doesn't want a Paranormal Activity in their filmography, like to spend $11,000 to $15,000 and have the success that Oren had with this thing and taking over the world. I mean, it's like your dream.
Kind of did, yeah.
Like this movie kind of killed the Saw franchise. It really kind of, Saw was like every year, every October there was a Saw movie, and then when Paranormal Activity came out, nope, buy saw every year is a Paranormal Activity movie. So it kind of it owned the genre for a while.
Yeah, it did, and I think their marketing was really good. Yeah, they're found footage. Yeah, um, basically they're mostly static camera, and the first one we'll talk about each one a little bit, but yeah, I think marketing was huge for them, especially early on. I remember seeing the commercials of people in the theater, jumping at certain moments and everything like that. Which I don't think there were very many like jump scares when it comes to the movies. It was more a lot of it, especially in the first one and second one, were little things here and there. Maybe the door creaked open, or just little things like, the blankets moved or something like that. But the thing is, the absence of music really helps the movies because it's just like a static sound that and it gets kind of louder when things are about to happen. No, but hey, we're going to do that show in about 2 weeks. We're going to talk about the Wreck movies in 2 weeks, so be prepared. I've never seen those, but yeah, I think marketing helped them a lot, especially make all that money. I mean, think about the money they made on that first movie. It was it was like 11,000, right? I mean, they made millions of dollars on that. I mean, this could be what really helped build Blumhouse in a way.
Oh, it did. And
Yeah.
again, going back to the independent filmmaker position, you make this movie. I think it took 7 days to make, $11,000 to $15,000. Steven Spielberg buys your movie, like that. Like, wow. I would have to pinch myself. Like,
I mean, it made almost $200 million on that budget. That's insanity. I had to look it up.
And it just goes to show you don't need all that money to be an effective horror film. Like, you can pull things off because it's really about creativity and using what you have, and knowing how to scare an audience. And I think that's what these films did. That's what I remember most. No matter what people think, I sat in those movie theaters for the first two films. Right? I think the first three films. I think I saw three in the theater.
Oh, you actually saw them in the theater?
Yeah, and I remember every night there was that suspense, that tension.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen? What am I going to see? And it's kind of like A Quiet Place. I don't think, other than The Quiet Place, I've ever heard theaters be that quiet. As you said, there's no music, and you're just watching this footage, and you're studying that, like, what's going to move, what's going to happen, it's like that is, you're holding the audience in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have their attention, and they're watching, and they're just waiting for something. And it could be the smallest thing, but they're all investigating. And what it is, it's like when you watch any video on YouTube where someone says, "Hey, I caught a ghost on camera," or "I caught something on camera." Yeah. It's really this type of shit. It's something moving. It's a shadow. It's a noise, a voice, and that shit's scary. And so that's what these movies kind of play on, of that.
And everybody's got a ghost story too. That's the other thing I think about. Everybody has a ghost story. I know. I'm sure you do. I do. I'm sure Seth does. Jared, wherever you are, I'm sure you do too. I know Jared does. And so that resonates with people. I was just looking at the numbers. I just want to bring this up real fast. Worldwide, the six movies, $890 million on a $28 million budget. The most expensive was the last one. It was $10 million. That's insane. That's mega profit right there. And they're supposed to be making another one, so we'll see.
I think at the time it was like the most successful independent film. I think it maybe knocked Blair Witch out, or
really
maybe Blair Witch was still number one. That's another thing about like Blair Witch. I don't remember people capitalizing on the found footage template until this movie, because I don't remember a lot of found footage movies after Blair Witch. Mm-hmm. There were spoofs of the Blair Witch.
When did Wreck come out?
Wreck came out
07?
Was it 07?
07, yeah. So it was right around the same time this came out. But it was after that all of a sudden found footage was being utilized by there were a lot of found footage movies, to the point where everybody started bitching about found footage movies.
Yeah, I mean, they did a spoof of this, and then they made like a knockoff, and yeah, I was trying to see if I could find if it is the highest.
I think Cloverfield could have came out same year, right before.
Oh God,
Cloverfield's right after.
Good. That came out in 2008, I think.
Okay, so like the year after.
Yeah, so all this is happening all around. Yeah, 2008, all around the same time. That didn't, and Cloverfield didn't even make as much. But
bigger budget and everything. Yeah, bigger movie.
Yeah, 25 million and made 172. How did they make each? Not very well. That's the thing about the if they make a seventh one, they can't do the same thing because the goal was achieved by the end of the fourth movie or sixth movie. Seth, what are some of your impressions? Because was it this year that you saw them for the first time, or had you seen them before?
Nope. This was the first time I've seen them. As I've said before, I've never been big into the found footage things. I was kind of a snob to them. So, like, when these were coming out, I was like,
"This is Seth."
No. Yeah, I was like, "Fuck Paranormal Activity. I'm going to see Saw. God damn it."
Yeah.
But I've been a little more open to them, and I saw one time I went to Walmart and they had the 6-pack Blu-ray for pretty cheap. I was like, you know what? I'll pick it up. I'll give them a shot. And then when I was having trouble with one of my knees and I was home during the winter months, I figured I'd give them a shot. And I kind of like them. Like it's not like a franchise that I think I can go and revisit a lot. I think that there's only one movie in this series that I can probably revisit multiple times, and that's the marked ones.
That one's the most one like a regular movie kind of experience.
That was the most appealing to me. That's my favorite one in the series. But yeah, no, I enjoyed them. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say it because it seems like my only problem with them is that each movie, they were obviously trying to like build this big story arc.
Yeah.
But you never got to those points until the very end of each movie, and then another movie comes out, and it's like it starts a whole new mystery and a whole new set of questions, and then it ends, tying in. I don't know, but they're good. I like them.
Yeah, I do too. I wish I would have gotten to see him in the theater because seeing seeing the we'll get to that in a second, but seeing the reaction of the crowds on the trailer was what drew me in, but I didn't get the chance to go see them because I think one of the Saws came out the same year, and it was one of those, you want to see Saw or you want to see Paranormal Activity, and we had gotten into the habit of seeing Saw every year at that point. So it's like, well, Saw. We see Halloween it was on Halloween. On Halloween we see Saw. It was something along those lines if I remember correct, because they all but the marked ones were released in October. So we saw Saw. We see Saw. I think it was Saw 3 at the time. Anyway, yeah. So we went and saw. Jesus God Almighty!
What you saw was Saw.
I can't say it again. So we saw that movie. And we waited till it came out on DVD, and we liked it enough to buy it. My wife, she was really big into the paranormal stuff. She watched Ghost Hunters and all that stuff. And she every time we moved into a place, she always want to get the video or the voice recorder and try to do EVPs and stuff. She was into that stuff. Then the second one came out, and it had to do with a baby, and we didn't see it till after it came out on DVD and Blu-ray, DVD. And we had just had Reynolds, and it freaked her out like crazy because everything with the baby. So the goal for each, so the whole Paranormal Activity is a series about how to explain it without really spoiling it, but we're going to spoil it anyway. Sorry,
yeah, it's the show about it.
Yeah, basically, there's this kind of coven of witches, I'd say, called the what are they called, midwives. And they're trying to find a vessel for this demon named Toby. Dumb name, by the way, but I guess it appealed to children. And the first movie is about this girl, Katie. Let's talk about the first movie, Katie and Mika.
let's just talk about the movies.
Yeah. So the first movie, Katie pulls up, and Mika's got the camera, and he starts filming everything because there's strange stuff going on around the house. So she agrees that he can set up the camera and kind of watch everything, see if they catch any paranormal activity. Eventually, and it's. I mean, a lot of the first half, maybe first 30 minutes, are kind of bland. Not really much happens. I think you see the door creak open a little bit in one scene, and then Katie, they call a demonologist, and he comes in and he gives them their little spiel, and go. My kids are knocking.
Oh, well, yeah, like just basically paranormal activities happening in the house, so they decide to investigate and record it. Doesn't the demonologist say, I sense something here and I need to leave because it's angry that I'm here?
Yeah.
And call someone else he recommends. But it's just one of those things where things start. I think I get why people don't like them, because people are so conditioned to see a lot of shit happen. And this movie begs you to be patient and to put yourself. Found footage, to me, the only way found footage works is if you invest in it. You throw away your I need this to entertain me, like narrative filmmaking, and I'm just watching something that's supposed to be real. Like you're flipping through YouTube and you come on a video that says ghost caught on camera. You don't watch those going, well, when's Arnold Schwarzenegger going to come out with a gun and shoot everybody? And you know that this is reality, or it's supposed to be reality. So you have to buy into that sensibility that I'm watching something that's supposed to be real, and it's not going to be scripted or made to be entertaining. It's supposed to be believable. So that's what you're seeing. You're seeing things like a chandelier swinging or a door closing or opening by itself. Real, like the kind of paranormal activity that is usually normal. And, there's no boogeymen and crooked man walking down the hallway and all this type of shit. It's just like the stuff that you can kind of buy could happen or you've experienced yourself. But it just, of course, starts to build and build and build. And what we find out is that Katie has experienced this most of her life from her childhood. Her and her sister experienced it, dealt with it. Their childhood home burned down. And really this demonologist is saying, look, it's not the house, it's Katie. This thing is locked onto Katie.
Following her around, yeah.
Wherever she goes, it's going to follow her. So she doesn't want to fuck with it, but Mika's so intrigued by it that he does. But at the same time,
he's obsessed. He's not intrigued. He's freaking obsessed. Yeah.
He's obsessed with it, and he's also provoking and trying to make shit happen.
Which the demonologist told him not to do.
Yeah. He doesn't take it 100% seriously. Yeah.
He's a dipshit, Mika.
He's a dumbass.
Yep.
Yeah. And he brings a Ouija board home, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Get that out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a fight.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things that progresses, and basically the core of the film is that he sets the camera up in their bedroom and is recording, and we're watching the footage one night, night 2, night 3, and things slowly happen while they're asleep. Some things they don't realize until they watch the tape back, or at one point Katie starts to seem to be affected by something where she's sleepwalking or getting up and standing there for hours. They're fast forward and she's standing there, which credit to the actress too. They go like Blair Witch, they go by their real names, Katie and
Katie Featherstone.
Yeah, and for her, I mean, I don't know if there's a way around it, but I imagine she did stand there all that time.
That's something I've always been curious about. Did she stand there for 3 hours? Or probably not 3 hours. It was probably a few minutes because they fast forward really fast, and the time you can see the time lapse on the camera.
They can manipulate the time.
I should have asked her that. I got to meet her a couple years. She is a sweetheart. She's one of the biggest sweethearts I've ever met. She's so sweet. And she's pretty hot, in my opinion. So, anyway.
I do, yeah. And that's one thing. Yeah, she is pretty attractive. And I also like she looks like a real person.
Real
She doesn't
person.
look like a movie star. You know?
Yeah, no.
Mike, on the other
is,
hand, looks like he could be a movie star. But
she when I met her a couple years ago, she lost a lot of weight and didn't look like herself. And I'm like, you look better the other way. I didn't say that, but I thought that. I was like, anyway, yeah. And so like to kind of piggyback of what Nate's saying, like things do start happening. There's one great scene where it's literally standing next to her, and it breathes on her, and you can see her hair move, and it's like, oh fuck, and then this is something that I've seen other people do, but Mika put powder down to see if there's footprints, and the next morning they wake up, their footprints. There's a lot of cool stuff that happens and a lot of fun paranormal tricks that you're like, how do they do that?
And all practical as well. That's another thing that, like, there's no CGI stuff. There aren't, like you said, there really aren't jump scares.
How they pull her out of bed?
I tell you how they pull her out of bed. They just.
Let me tell you something. I wouldn't pull her out of bed. I'd leave her in the bed.
They composited. Like what you do is like you just shoot two shots, 2 plates. So they would shoot the room, and then they'd put another one on top. And then what they did was they probably tied a rope to her leg or something to her leg, pulled her out of bed, and then they pulled her out of the room. And then you just go in and you mat over the rope.
Right.
And or like the shadow, you just split screen it because the shot's static in the same shot. The camera's not moving. So it's actually very, very easy to do.
It looked legit, man. It looked like somebody grabbed her leg and just pulled her ass right out of bed. that was probably my favorite scene of the whole movie, was that scene when, spoiler alert, when she gets pulled out of bed. I'll tell you, Kathy, give them a shot. I don't know how you feel about paranormal things, but they start kind of slow, but as the series progresses, you start seeing the story start to unfold, and in my opinion, they get kind of better. The last movie is not that great. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I'm a fool. I like Italian horror, so. But yeah, I mean, Seth, do you have anything you want to say about the first movie? Sitting there all quiet like. In the same pose as the Wolfman.
I think a problem I have with the series, if I remember correctly, and I didn't rewatch these before the show, unfortunately, but in this one, doesn't she say that the stuff happened to her as a kid and her sister saw, but she wasn't ever affected?
I think she said to her sister. Yeah, they do go back. You're right. Yeah, those are both good movies. Yeah, I think you're right, because they do backtrack a couple times in the series.
They kind of,
like,
because they say, I can't remember which one it was. Like one of the mothers was dead, but then and something like there's some contradicting stuff. But only other thing I had to add for it is like the actors were paid $500 to do the film. And they filmed it themselves. A lot of the times, these movies like the Blair Witch is basically there's no scripts. Mm-hmm. You're giving your script is more of a guide, and then you just film and shit happens, and you're ad-libbing and you're living like it's really happening. And that's what you have to condition yourself for these films, is that they're not scripted. The dialogue is real because you're trying to capture reality. And like anybody, you ever watch home videos, real people don't talk very entertainingly or exciting. Like it's very mundane, boring conversation. So you're seeing people make sandwiches and have breakfast and doing normal shit that we all do, but that just kind of grounds the reality of it to make you go, oh, I'm watching someone's home videos. So, I mean, some people go in, they're just ready to watch scripted stuff. And that's when you do scripted found footage, it just doesn't work. I always bring up Diary of the Dead. I love George Romero, but Diary of the Dead is so scripted that it's just like, why did he use a found footage format for this? Like it doesn't, these are obviously actors saying written lines, performing to the camera, doesn't work. But you have to be kind of boring, for it to work.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it's that's one thing I didn't know, if they had how much of a script they had for this movie, or if they pulled gags to surprise the actors to get genuine reactions. I think the further they got with the series, they started having a clearer idea of what they wanted to do. And maybe not everything was completely scripted. I don't know. I've never really looked into the making of these movies as much because
there's not a lot out there about illusion.
Well, that's the funny thing is, so I've seen these. I watch the whole series once a year, kind of binge watch them because I do like them. I've got at least 3 copies of each one. I don't know what the hell my problem is. I've got the digital copies, the DVDs, and the Blu-rays. Somebody's got to stop me. Anyway, I think that, like, I checked, so I didn't watch them again because I've seen them so many times. I know them pretty well. But I was looking on YouTube to see if I could find breakdown. You see YouTube has breakdown videos and people do scene-by-scene analysis and stuff. I was looking for that. I found one video that was an hour that covered the entire series, and it was just a recap. There's nothing like that I could find that was like theories or whatever, like nothing even theories on part 7, which is I found out due to come out in March. But yeah, there's not much out there for it, which kind of keeps the illusion up a little bit, especially since most of the actors are not well-known actors. I think only 1 or 2 of them have been in anything since then.
Yeah, like the girl in part 4, of course, is blowing up right now with like Freaky and a few other blockers and.
She was on Supernatural.
Allie or whatever her name is. Is that who it is? Or
I can't remember her name.
The blonde girl. Their names are
Catherine something.
Yeah, Catherine. Like she looks like a young Madonna to me. And
Catherine Newton.
Yeah, Catherine Newton.
Yeah, she was in Supernatural for a while too.
Was she?
Yeah, she was the daughter of, well, not Castiel, but Castiel's vessel.
I'm looking at her filmography now. She's going to be an Ant-Man and Wasp as Cassie Lang.
Yep.
But the funny thing is, she's in. Is this a Karate Kid knockoff? The martial arts kid. Anyway, yeah, she's Freaky, Pokemon.
Pokemon movie.
Yeah, she's in a lot of stuff. Supernatural 6 episodes. Who is that? I need to catch up on that show. Yeah, I guess her and Katie. I mean, but Katie's her filmography is mostly this, and then she was in those 2 In Search of Darkness documentaries. Yeah, Catherine Newton. I liked all of them. They have something different. Well, the thing is, moving on, if we can move on to the second one gets interesting because it actually, and the continuity is all over the place because the first one takes place after the second one for the most part because originally goes to what they're trying to do is get a male vessel for Toby and Katie's sister, Christy. It follows her family and she's just had a baby boy, Hunter. And so all the stuff starts happening to them. And then her husband had a daughter out of another marriage, and she's starting to notice everything getting weird. And there's some really cool moments in this one, especially with at the very end when Katie shows up.
I do like that they employ different techniques. Like Mika set up cameras in the house in the first movie. In the second one, it's security
cameras,
right?
Yeah.
Security cameras. So you're seeing multiple areas of the house back and forth. Go ahead, Seth.
I was going to say, isn't it implied in part 2 that everything that happened in the first one was because
what happened?
Because of the husband? Because the husband, because Christy's husband is a dickhead, and
pretty much, yeah, because they pushed it on Katie instead of having it on Christy, yeah. He got his though.
Yeah, they pretty much. Yeah.
Mr. fucking Burger King got his. He ran a bunch of Burger Kings, I think, is what it said.
Yeah, he found out that they could transfer it over to someone, but it had to be a blood relative. So I guess figuring that Katie has no children.
Yeah.
All this and he has children to protect. So that was his justification of putting it on the sister because his wife was possessed.
Completely possessed,
And had a newborn baby and a daughter to protect. And, and Katie, I think he that was his justification of it. And so, I mean, that is like the first 2 sequels are basically prequels, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
and then it leads up to the second movie ends at the beginning of the first one, because we see Mika and Katie hanging out with them over at their house, playing with their new nephew or whatever, and I dug that second one quite a bit. I like that. I like that the movie does kind of stick to this Katie and Christy storyline and how all these different things happen. Like in the first movie, Micah goes in the attic and finds the photograph of Katie when she was little. It's kind of burned up, and
they circle back around to that. Yeah,
circle back to that's how they put it on, right? Because they put that photograph.
Yeah,
up
so
there.
It was interesting. Like whenever I watched the first one, Katie talks about their house got caught on fire when they were young, and so I thought that's where the picture came from. So I'm like, oh my god, they found that's the only thing that's left from the house burning down. But then they show in the second movie that's part of the ritual was they had to burn the picture of Katie to send Toby to Katie, and Toby had to be pissed because the housekeeper, she worked her magic, but Toby finds a way.
It's got some cool sequences, like the teenage daughter, babysitting the baby, and then getting locked out of the house by the ghost, and can't get in, and then the ghost is going after the baby, and some tense stuff.
Well, I also like that they changed the male figure to Mika was all about this. He was obsessed. He couldn't get enough. He was wanting to see stuff, and then the dad. In the second movie, he just laughed it off, thought it was a joke until Christy starts acting like a zombie, basically. She gets dragged into the basement, which was awesome. She was dragged down the steps all the way to the basement and comes out, and she's just walking like a zombie, And there's a couple great moments with the daughter where she's peeking in. Christy's just sitting in the chair, like kind of being the guardian over Hunter. And she peeks in and turns her head and comes back, and Christy's right in the doorway. She's like, oh, fuck,
Yeah.
Like, that is a jump scare, I guess. But yeah, it's the way they did a lot of cool things. And I didn't think about that, about how Mika used the one camera, then they changed. Then the third movie, they used Dennis
video camcorder stuff.
I like what he did though, the fan and
the oscillated fan.
That was awesome. The oscillating fan. Yeah, we'll get to that.
I remember in the theater that was just adding to the tension because you knew, like, when the camera's moving, what am I going to see when I get
There's
back?
a great scene in there. We'll talk about when we get there. But yeah, I thought that was really innovative.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the thing I like about this, even though they went back, was they obviously building towards something, and that's one of the things. I remember one of the complaints I kept hearing from people that I knew that watched them. They're like, there's nothing going on. It's worthless watching. And it's like, no, they're building to something. Just wait. And then the next one, they go back in time to 1988 or something like that. And people are like, no, they're going to show them as kids. I'm like, yeah, this is the best one. In my opinion, that's the best one. This is the third one, but
that's probably my favorite. Not because I like Mark ones like Seth does, but I think I call this one my favorite because it's still connected to Katie and Christy. Like, it's still there. Like, because Marked ones deviate so far away from the series in some ways, but Marked ones is probably the most entertaining of the franchise.
Yeah.
But I like, going back to 88, which is really interesting. I learned that, like, the house that they're in the 88 version, like, they said they didn't have to really dress that house. It was like that. Like, they were scouting houses and finding houses that didn't need a lot of, so it looked like it belonged in 1988.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it had little cool things in that one too, like the earthquake, when the earthquake happens and dust falls on the figure in the shot. They capture cool. Yeah, I do really like the third one. And I like the whole idea of seeing Katie and Christy as kids, and Christy getting up and talking to Toby, and all these little things like that are and like I said, the oscillated fan use. And I like the character of the stepdad and his buddy.
Very likable.
Video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really liked the Bloody Mary scene where they're trapped in the bathroom was really cool. It was cool to see Bloody Mary. I was like, shit, I should have put Bloody Mary because my new movie's all about nostalgia in the 80s. Like, fuck, that would have been a cool, fun thing to do, Bloody Mary scene. But You know?
That really was something I love seeing in that timeline, especially because I remember when I was around that time, 9 years old. That's when I heard about Bloody Mary, and so Katie and Christy are about my age, essentially in Seth's age. I think Katie was like, according to the timeline, I think she's maybe 2 years younger than me. So Katie Featherstone, if you're out there, I'm single. Anyway,
Are we on part 3 now?
yeah. Did you have anything you want to say about 2 before we because 3 is definitely my favorite, 100%.
No. I mean, part 2. I like what they did with it. I really like the way that it ends. But part 3 has one of my favorite, I think, visuals of probably the entire series. So, whenever
Yeah,
we
like
get to that,
the ending where Katie shows up and kills them was
yeah,
at the end of part 2.
love it.
That was pretty cool.
Love it.
It was
Oh, I
cool.
love when she snaps his neck.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like brutal. You see her. Okay, I've told this story before, but I gotta tell you guys, Elizabeth, my wife, she called it the Katie walk. Well, Katie just forcefully walks up, excuse me, like she did with Mika at the end. She tosses him against the camera and she walks really fast. She does that to the dad at the end of the second one and snaps his neck. She did that to me when I'd be close to falling asleep on the couch or something like that. She'd leave the room and do her Katie walk right up on me. I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? You know, I love that. She really liked that move. But anyway, yeah, that ending is so great. And then Katie just disappears with Hunter, the baby.
Yeah,
you know, after killing. Yeah.
I forgot
So
to mention
then the best
baby.
Then they do the best thing, which is go back in time rather than they're making us wait to see what happened to Hunter. You know, and in the third movie, you're like, the third movie was great, and it wasn't because of the '80s, or just because of the it was what
80s.
they did. Dennis was
80s.
like Mika, in my opinion, by the way, but nicer. I like Dennis.
Yeah,
he looked just like Mika.
He did. He looked a lot like Mika.
Yeah.
It was cool. Like I said, it's an '80s movie, but they're not like, "Hey, we're in the '80s." And the director said we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to like, "Hey, look at this. Here's this and here's this thing." Like a lot of '80s movies are like, "Hey, look, we're in the '80s. Here's this thing that was only in the '80s, and here's this." Like,
you mean like Wonder Woman '84?
Like Stranger Things or something, Hey, let's go do laser tag, and let's go, like all these little things. And, hey, let's dress up like the Ghostbusters. Like, how many kids had 4 Ghostbusters costumes for Halloween? like that shit doesn't happen. Like, so they were like, it's '88, but we're not making it an '80s movie. There wasn't synth fucking music or some shit like that going the whole time. It was like, no, it's '88 because this is where this shit really originally happened, because we're going back. It's organic. It's real. And but like I said, I think the characters were very likable in this one. But that's the thing I forgot about, where there's a continuity issue, because the mother dies at the end. Katie and Christy's mother dies. Mm-hmm. But when they bring the demonologist to the house in the first movie and says, they don't like they are drawn to negative energy or whatever. And Mika says, we shouldn't have your mother over here. You worry about the negative energy. So she doesn't have a mother. Her mother died when she was little, but which would be a really shitty thing to say to somebody whose mother died when they were 10. Shouldn't have your mother over.
Well, that wasn't. They didn't establish. I wonder if when they
she
made
had a stepmom.
Well, I wonder if when they made the first movie, if they were like, "Well, this is our chance. Let's make this movie, see what happens," and they started building on the series after that. Like,
I can guarantee Oren had no feelings that there was ever going to be a sequel like this. If this movie was even going to be seen, and you're making a movie for that little, and you're making it on the weekends, 7-day shoot with some non-actors, really, or unknown actors.
That all started with like the second one, when I think what's his name, Christopher Landon, came into as a screenwriter for the series.
Yeah, because Oren did the first one, right?
Correct. He was only like producer on the remaining films, but
yeah,
I don't think there was a plan.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Part 3,
Star Wars problems, like, hey, Obi-Wan gave us a lot of bullshit in the first movie.
Yeah.
But, Leia, you
part,
remember your mom? Sorry.
Yeah. Part of 3, I think it's in my top 3 of the franchise. I have to look at my ranking again, but there's 2 things that really stand out in that movie. Dennis's death was fucking brutal.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And that one scene where there's the babysitters in the kitchen and you see I love it. The sheet.
Dude, the best part about it is you see it slowly coming down the stairs, and the camera is on that oscillating fan going back and forth. So every time it goes back, it's a little bit closer. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, no, it just everything about that whole scene. It was just fantastic.
Yeah,
and I like that the babysitter's like sitting there waiting for them. Like just waiting for them, like with their books. Like the moment they get home, she's like, "Bye, I gotta go." Like it reminded me of like my buddy. I told the story on the show before. My buddy said, he saw a ghost in our hallway one night. He told me this after we moved out, and he said he didn't go back to sleep. He sat there and waited. He fixed the bed and the blankets, and he waited until I got up. And as soon as I got up, he left. And he goes, "I never saved her." But it reminded me of that because she's like sitting there by the door, waiting for them with their shit. Like she's not relaxed, she's not chill. She's like, the moment they're home, I'm leaving. Even though she saw some weird shit, she at least did her duty and stayed with those kids. But I do like that movie. That was probably my favorite. And what's funny is I don't remember liking it as much when I saw it in the theater.
I liked it right away. A lot of it had to do with I mean, Dennis was he's a wedding photographer.
Yeah.
He whatever, but like, but it's like so he was pretty inventive and what he was doing. I couldn't get over that whole idea of taking the fan blades off the fan and putting the camcorder on there and it all started because he wanted to record him and their mom having sex. Let's not forget. And then the earthquake happened, and that's when you see. And that was a really cool little scene. And I remember I didn't catch it right away. What you talked about with the dust falling on top of I didn't catch it right away. Elizabeth, we watched it at home. She's like, "Hey, did you see that?" I was like, "No, what happened?" Because I miss stuff all the time. That's why it takes me 2 or 3 times to watch stuff. But she's like, "Watch this," and she rewound. I'm like, "Oh my god, that's awesome!" Because you don't see the presence there, but you see the dust fall and not land on the floor; it lands on the shoulder or whatever. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, that scene with the person in the sheet they were about as tall as Katie or Christy or whatever, and then the babysitter, as soon as she turns around, the sheet just falls flat. That got me. I'm not gonna lie, that got me because I was like, that might be one of the girls messing around. No, it just falls flat on the ground. And you're like, oh shit.
Yep.
Congrats on your acting. Are you taking I haven't been on Facebook all week.
I started an acting class yesterday, just for the experience and the education of it. Like I've studied acting. I've done a few film acting roles, but
Volumes of Blood 1, you were a fucking a troll.
Yeah.
Volume 2.
Yeah. But I'm a firm believer if you're gonna be a director, you need to know everybody's job, and you need to experience it and do it yourself so you can communicate with them. And I've always had a good working relationship with my actors, but it can always be better. So I've been wanting for years to take an acting class just to kind of face it, because it's a challenge. You got to be vulnerable. You're going to be embarrassed. You can't be afraid to be embarrassed. You can't be afraid to look stupid or silly and vulnerable. So it's a personal challenge as well as a professional challenge. So I saw they popped up in my email. It's a local theater here. Was doing it. This instructor from New York. And cool. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. So I just started last night. So, and it was a blast. I was really, because you really get in. It's like being a writer. You're trying to create a character and figure out why they're doing this and how they feel about this person. And actually, I've been taking it and working with my daughter on writing characters and developing characters. So I think it's I think it's very beneficial for anyone who wants to be a filmmaker to, even if you don't want to be a filmmaker, an actor, which I don't want to be an actor, but just to get a taste of being in their shoes and seeing what their experience is and what they go through and their process, and just makes you be able to respect and deal with those people more.
How did that camera move? What was that? Sorry. So yeah, congrats, man. I hope it works. I think you should get in front of the camera again.
It's fun. I don't want to be
I've always wanted to
actor.
try it myself, but the first time I had to host one of these shows, I had to fucking psych myself up so hard. And this is just kind of bullshitting around, so I don't know if I can get into the headspace to act.
It's I think the funny, because it's funny when you act and film, and because you have all these funny moments where you mess up. And I think one of my favorites of that Volumes of Blood shoot was the guy that played the usher in the short. His name was Jeremy. He had this kind of thick mustache. And so when I was writing the script, I call him. So we're in a movie theater, we're watching the movie, and I had to stand up for all this crowd, and he's telling us to get out, and I call him Nacho Libre because he looks just like Jack Black in Nacho Libre.
Oh, I know who you're talking about now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I call him Nacho Libre. And the whole audience, or a bunch of extras, they had no idea what the script was.
Right.
So they all just bust out laughing. Just the whole... Because he did look like fucking Nacho Libre. And they're not supposed to laugh. So it was a ruined take, But they all laughed because, it was just funny because he did.
Who filmed that segment?
PJ was the director on that one because...
Did he lose his shit when everybody laughed? God damn it.
No, we had a blast with it. There was one where... Because he came up with a really funny bit PJ did where Kevin Roach and I are talking to him, and he's berating us for doing it, and PJ suggested that Kevin shush him, but rub his mustache. So Kevin is shh, and he's rubbing his mustache, and it was fun. It was just those are the funny moments, out in the hallway, drawing dicks on the posters and little kids talking these fun things. So we had a blast filming at a real theater, and then all the other things. So yeah,
it was a real theater too, wasn't it?
It's fun to act because I asked PJ to direct it so I could enjoy it, because when you got to direct, you've got so much responsibility and so much stuff to focus on, time and everything. So I just said, I just want to act. I just want to concentrate on performing, and I don't want to deal with...
Just thought about Adam Goldberg in Dazed and Confused. I want to dance.
I want to dance.
I want to act.
Well, that's what it was like. And I was supposed to direct the Murder, Death, Killer sequence 2 weeks from then. So I was focused on that too. Look, I'm just... I've got a lot. Yeah.
That was one of my favorite parts. I still think there's a movie in there.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, there is, but PJ owns it.
The character was really... Yeah, the character was really... cool, and Justin Mabry did a really cool job with the mask, and
Justin does a good job.
Barbie Clark, who starred in the film, did the costume, and I came up with... the character was based on a short that he did in the first movie, but I kind of gave the character a name and backstory, and kind of steampunked him up, made him a little more Kane Hodder, Jason.
He was really cool. Yeah, if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, Nate was a part of an anthology series, Volumes of Blood, and then Volumes of Blood Horror Stories, the second one, which I believe are on Tubi right now, so you can check them out there and check out Nate's acting performance.
Yeah,
says you do a couple of things, mostly being a troll, but
Horror Story is on. That's where it started, because Horror Story is on Tubi right now for free. The first segment is Murder, Death, Killer, but it's Murder, Death, Killer is the Friday the 13th of that universe, and in the first movie, this kid's watching part 3 in his class, and the teacher berates him for it. So I said, "What if I did a Rob Zombie
which
thing?"
Alex Vanover's in that classroom.
Yeah, right? Alex is in that classroom, and so I thought, what if I did a Rob Zombie remake of the opening 10 minutes of the original Murder, Death, Killer, whatever that movie was, And so that was the whole thing. So I kind of Rob Zombied it up, or Quentin Tarantino'd it up, and redesigned everything. And I said, basically, when we cut to two guys who are just shitting on remakes. So it's a commentary on troll horror fans,
which is you and Kevin Roach, right?
Me and Kevin Roach.
Yeah.
So it's just it's like you see the big climax of the short. The kill happens. You cut to me and Kevin in the theater, and I'm like, I can't remember what my first line is. Like, oh fuck you! I'm fuck cussing at the screen, and that's when we're in the theater. And
yeah,
we're getting kicked out of the theater because I'm like yelling at the crowd, like, don't tell me you don't like this bullshit, and like we're just going on, and like we're talking about modern horror sucks, and like I said, it follows sucks or something, and like Kevin says, yeah, more like it swallows, and like everybody's laughing. So it's like we just kind of shit on remakes, but then I make commentary on how everything I'm saying is hypocritical because everything I'm complaining about is what the Friday the 13th franchise, the Murder Death Killer franchise, did in the 80s. Just unoriginal, repetitive, copycat bullshit. So.
What's
All
up?
right, we're talking about this movie.
Yeah, well, I will say one thing. I think PJ should try to make that into an actual movie because I think it would go over way better than an anthology.
He wanted
that third one.
He wanted to. He wanted to make an
He
Atticus
to.
Crow movie, and he should. He should. He, you know, even if I'm not continuing writing it and everything,
I'll write it for him. So, okay, Paranormal Activity, because Seth looks bored as fuck.
It's like, I don't know what y'all talking about.
So yeah. Anyway, we were on 3. 3 is it's my favorite. I think it's one of the top 2 in my opinion. 4 is kind of a throwaway, in my opinion.
4 is my least favorite.
Well, I mean, they did some fun stuff with like what was that, the Xbox Connect or whatever, where you know it shows the dots in what is it called, infrared.
Yeah, you can see movement.
Yeah, and then you can see Toby's infrared on the. What the fuck is this?
The thing I like about Part 4 is
I found this key. I don't know where it came from.
Where's it go? We gotta find it.
I don't know. That's weird.
Well, I like the actress. You know, she's a really good actress. I liked her. I like her boyfriend in the movie. I thought.
Yeah, he was kind of a poor man's Evan Peters.
Yeah.
Right.
He was cool, and I mean, yeah, the little boy was a little pretty odd, but he was supposed to be. Both
boys did a pretty good job, especially the odd one. I can't remember what his name was, but he was really strange. And I remember one of the first things she's like, he's wearing socks and sandals.
I love the socks and sandals.
I thought that was really funny.
And I do like that this is kind of the first one really to bring in the witches, right?
Yeah, well, no, because the third one at the end, yeah, they go to the mom's house. By the way, we didn't cover the end of that. They go to Katie's grandma's house, which is kind of like a farm area. But the end of the movie, like Dennis is freaking out, looking around the camera. But one of my favorite things, I wanted to say this, was he looks up the top of the stairs and sees Katie and Chrissy's mom. At first, it looks like she's standing there. Nope, she's fucking somebody's holding her up, and then tosses her down the steps at her. And then, of course, Dennis gets fucking Sheriff Garrist by Toby. He gets his fucking back broken backwards, which is awesome. That whole end scene. Plus, you got to see some of the midwives, which I thought was cool. But yeah, into the fourth movie, the Hunter in spoiler territory again. Hunter is he's adopted. But my question is, how the hell did that happen? At what point did Katie lose contact with him? Because I thought the weird kid with the socks and sandals was Hunter at first, and then it turns out Hunter is. I forgot what they called him. His.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's kind of. I don't know where they. What were they after in
Robbie,
the fourth one?
Here we go.
Robbie. Like, what were they after? Were they trying? I mean, yeah, I guess it's not explained how Hunter ended up with them.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It makes no sense. Because he was already with Katie, But again, they employ different methods of directing in this with like a Skype type thing and stuff, which was really cool.
That was the other. That was the change. Was that it was laptops. So the director talked about how this was a way to have a camera because you couldn't do close-ups in the Paranormal Activity movie because the camera's facing. You're using a camera, but this was the camera is being held by the character walking around, so you could play around with stuff behind them that the character can't see. So it opened up new opportunities of scares for that.
Like that knife. The knife was up in the ceiling and then fell down. Yeah, there was some cool moments in it. But
wasted opportunity with that one.
No, yeah, completely. But if they killed somebody in the middle of the movie, I mean, it's that.
I figured it would, like when it first disappeared. When it went up, I was like, oh, that's going to come back in for like the end sequence. Because all these movies, the end sequences where things get crazy, and I'm like, that's going to be awesome. But then it was just used for like a cheap jump scare. That went nowhere.
It was. You're right. Yeah, you're right. I think it was cool though, the scene it just fly up. But yeah, that's the other thing. I did like the ending of this one. Again, Katie gets to break another fucking neck. She's good at that. She's the best figure out there.
Yeah.
She gets to break another neck, and then the ending. The best part about the ending is when the girl, Catherine Newton, I don't know her, Allie. Is it Allie? No, that was the girl in part 2. But anyway, she goes across the street where Katie, I guess, is staying, and she sees her dad getting just beaten the shit out of by Toby, I'm guessing. And then she goes in the backyard, and there are fucking hundreds of the midwives back there, and they all have that little necklace on. I don't know if you guys noticed that, and it's all in like not infrared, but like night vision or whatever, and you see their eyes are kind of glowing. It's like, fuck, ugh, that's creepy. I think she died.
Well, I like when she walks over the first time and that woman's right there and goes, "Can I help you?"
Yeah.
Wrong house.
There's some good stuff in this one, but yeah, I do think this is the weakest of even weaker than Ghost Dimension. That one gets a lot of bad rep. I like that one.
Ghost Dimension's my least favorite, but we'll get to that one.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about with 4? Move on to the marked ones, because that one is probably the most unique out of all 6 of them. Did I say 6 or sex? 6. That's sex on the brain. So yeah, you both said you really like the marked ones. Seth, what other than the fact that it left the Katie and Christy story and we started following somebody else? I mean, what really stuck out on this one for you? I know Nate said it felt like more like a real movie.
It did. It felt like more like a real movie. It felt like there was more that was actually happening. I thought the characters were really likable and engaging. I actually really liked the main character, and
his best friend is my friend Edgar. By the way, he acted exactly like him. Both Mexican too.
Like you feel that friendship throughout the movie, and it almost kind of reminded me of Chronicle a little bit, with how he's testing stuff out,
like a superhero movie.
Yeah, and then then he starts to get more and more agitated. Like there's that scene in the store. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, when he grabs the bat from the guy, and that was cool.
Yeah, I liked that. I didn't realize until after I watched it, but I guess the girl that they met with in the park was actually the daughter from part 2.
From 2, yeah. She's
I didn't realize that. Yeah, so I like how they included that, and then the ending is fucking awesome. When you got the the gang members going with them, and
that was a big fucking game changer. The ending
is definitely the best of the franchise.
And then going right back to the first one, that was great.
Good buddy.
Seeing what happened with. Yeah,
I thought that was good. Well, the whole movie, it follows. I can't remember the kid's name. What was his name?
The Hector?
No, his character name. Anyway, they graduated high school, and he got a camera for graduation present, right? And there's some weird noises coming from the basement, or the person under
Jesse is the main character.
Jesse, in his apartment building. The lady lives underneath him, and they're calling her bruja, which means witch in Spanish and stuff. And they end up seeing a naked woman which is pretty hot. and then Anna pops up, and not so much. But yeah, I mean, it's basically the beginning of the movie is a couple of friends acting like a bunch of dickwads, just having fun. And then shit starts happening after they see their friend Oscar, who graduated with them, running out of Anna's apartment. They're getting ready to set off some fireworks, and Oscar is jumping out of the apartment and freaking out, and they don't know why Oscar was in there, and it was pretty cool. It really delves deeper into the midwives, really, because once they open up that hatch in the basement of an apartment, which is odd, you see that they've got that Anna lady's got all these tapes of that. Some of them say Christy and Katie, which you get to see them again as kids, which was really, that freaked me out the first time, because they turn the camera, it's like, oh my god, there they are again, and they have black eyes and stuff. But yeah, man, I really, really enjoyed this one because it was way different than the other three.
Well, first of all, we're not seeing another white rich family. We're like in this giant houses. It's like the real people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they live in an apartment building. They're, I mean, they're really real people, and you see the one of the cool elements was that Oscar's brothers is in a gang. And they go. That's one of the best parts was when they go to the Christy and Katie's grandma's house, and this motherfucker unloads the shotgun, and the witch goes flying. It's like, yeah, that's badass.
Yeah, it's like I said, like the most normal film where you're seeing that ending is like action packed, where shit's actually happening, and it just keeps escalating.
There's so much going on. If you watch that ending scene again, they've got stables where it looks like they have some of the women that are, because I swear I heard one of them say "help me," and I think that they're storing women there to try to produce boy babies or whatever, which is fucked up.
Because they're building an army of male. Yeah. Like that's what they're building. The women, or for whatever, they're building an army for them. Yeah, not the midwives. Not just to host the Toby.
Yeah, but because it wasn't Toby in this one, was it?
No, it was the fourth. The last one was, right?
Yeah.
But Toby is the imaginary friend of Christy. She's talking to her, talking to Toby as a little kid. But really, it's not imaginary. Of course, it's the demon. So it's not like I don't know if the demon's name is Toby for real.
No, it's Tobias actually. I don't know. This one though was a lot of fun watching. It was actually, it's funny though, because after seeing the first three, this was the one I avoided for a while. I was like, whatever, but it turned out to be surprisingly good. And definitely
almost got a Jackass quality, because they're a bunch of young kids skateboarding and doing stupid shit.
Right.
And so again, like they're changing it, where you go from someone's putting cameras up to catch stuff, someone's got home security system, someone's got the iPads talking, and that's how we're catching stuff. So they kept changing how they went about the recordings.
Yeah.
Because it would just be silly if everyone's always recording themselves with their camcorders. But this is normal. This is the kind of shit you see on YouTube again. This is the YouTube generation where they're filming themselves doing tricks and doing things.
When my buddy Edgar got a digital camera, that's all we did was record us doing dumb shit when we were like 20, 21 years old. And it was nothing important. I mean, that's one of the things that, they were recording. Like when he first got the camera, one of the first things they did, they went and saw his buddy who was like flipping signs or whatever, and then they saw like a drug deal going down. They're like, "Oh shit!" That just regular ass shit going on. And I plus, like Seth said, I do like all the characters, from the grandma to the dad who's never there because he's working all the time. Marisol, the sister, and then Jesse gets a fucking penis written on his face. Which I thought was funny. And he's sitting there interviewing him, and he's got this penis right here drawn on his face with a Sharpie. but the thing I really liked about it was his reaction to the powers. Like whenever he found out whatever it was falling, like he fell back and it would catch him, or he could jump really high, or the skateboard trick. It's like you see some of this shit. It's like, yeah, he's taking advantage. He's doing exactly what a teenage boy would do if this shit was happening.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool.
And I do One of my favorite things is the ending, how we see time travel, where they end up in Katie
Yes.
and Micah's house.
Yes.
And we see what happened to Micah. Like, Katie is standing in the kitchen. He walks up to her. She turns around, sees him, screams. Micah comes down to protect her, and she kills Micah with the knife. Like, that was the shit. That was like, oh, man,
that was
he brought
really
back
cool.
full circle. Like the series could have ended with that movie, and I'd have been happy. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Nope, Nate disappeared. One of the things I was going to say also, I like that when they're at the grandmother's house, he goes to hide in the closet from Jesse. They got hold of the camera, and you can see all the runes or whatever up on the doorway. And I thought, what happened? Was that a ghost?
Ghost, I guess.
You know, what I was saying was, before they ended up in Mika and Katie's house, he went to hide in that closet from Jesse, and you saw all those markings up and down the doorway, which comes back into the next movie. So they planned that out, but it was really cool that he goes in there to hide, and he ends up in that closet downstairs. And yeah, you see Katie there. I thought that was, when that's happened, you see Katie, I'm like, oh my God. Well, I thought that was so cool. There's a part in the movie where I think it looked like Katie was in the distance watching them. Like, you see a shadow of her or something like that in the distance watching them. I don't know if I was the only one who saw that, or if I even, maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember. But yeah, it's a good one. Nate, you time traveled. Yeah, the Mark ones is a good one. It's and that's one you could watch as a standalone if you wanted to.
Out of all of them, I'd say that's got the most rewatchable potential. Like, you pop that on and be entertained, because the guys are being entertaining, because the whole purpose of their footage is to fuck around and be funny and do things, instead of just put the camera on, let it run, see what we catch, because that's how the nature of the rest of them are.
No, they don't really notice anything. What's that?
I was gonna say, and then there's that poor fucking dog too.
Oh, the dog scene was fucked up.
Yeah. I almost forgot about that.
Is that something you wanted to do to Indigo?
I think the only thing I didn't like, the only moment I didn't like, is where the room starts to warp. Like, it's like really cheap, like digital effect, like where it explode. Like, I thought, oh, that does not look like, that looks just like it's video being manipulated, not what they're capturing being manipulated.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. There's I don't know. I can't get over the ending of that movie though, and especially with Shotgun Blast.
It's a relentless ending. That's what really is entertaining about it.
They try that. I think each movie it gets a little bit more and more relentless until even the last one, the Ghost Dimension.
Well, like you said, all the midwives are closing in on him, and he's just running away from them. It's just real intense, because normally we're just seeing, the typical stuff, but this one's like he's just cornered everywhere he turns, and crazy shit's happening everywhere. People are dying. It's not just one person; it's a lot of people experiencing and being taken out.
And I thought that would be the last one, because I can't remember, but I think it was like 2 years or so before the next one came out, the Ghost Dimension. And yeah, I think you're right. I think that would have been a nice way to end the series, but I still think they needed some kind of. Although I could consider that when Jesse was possessed, it may have been Toby. But it left me with a lot of questions, which still weren't answered in the Ghost Dimension. What do we think of that one?
I didn't like that one. There were things in it that I really liked. I liked that they were on the property where Katie and Christy's house. Yeah, like the house had been rebuilt because it had burned down. So I like that. I absolutely love when they're watching the video of Christy or Katie while they're talking, and she's aware of their house.
Well, the girl sneezes. I like when she sneezes, and Katie, like, bless you.
Bless you. Like, that's oh my God, this is awesome. Like, this is a great concept, but I feel the whole movie as a whole is there's it's there. I didn't know this until after I watched it that it was a 3D movie.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
because my problem with it was it felt like when I found out it was 3D movie, I was like, oh, that explains it, because this movie has way too much shit happening, and like it doesn't pace itself. Shit just goes bad right away. It keeps going on, and then they have all the digital effects with all the venom floating around or whatever the hell it is, like all this shit. And I'm like, why are they using
Is
all
that
this
Toby?
CG shit?
Is that supposed to be Toby?
Yeah, I guess it's like a physical manifestation of Toby. It's this orby, like venom, like the like
It's
moving
a
around symbiote.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this? I'm looking at it like this. None of the other movies needed this. This is too much. And I realized, oh well, it's a 3D movie. They have to show something to be 3D. There has to be shit going on. But that was my problem with it. Was like it's just it didn't feel. I felt like I couldn't follow the movie. It was just so much shit going on. It was like they were just throwing stuff at us to keep things going. Probably with the 3D shit. And again, I'm not a fan of 3D movies. I think it compromises good film making and good storytelling. Yeah. Because you're writing and editing and working towards a gimmick instead of telling your story. And to me, that just complicates things.
No, I agree with you 100%. Because this probably could have been. I mean, I wonder if the seventh movie they're making is the redo to finish up the series. And reasons for it. First of all, my question is, okay, I love the scene where they find the box and you see Dennis's camera from part 3. You're like, oh man, they found Dennis's camera. Why is it there? Why are all those tapes there? You know, so I had questions right away. And then you see that concrete in the yard with Katie and Chrissy's handprints on it. I mean, there's so many cool stuff, kind of tossbacks to the other movies and everything, callbacks. But like, you open up Dennis's camera and it's fucking enhanced with like 4 different whatever they're called. I can't. It's like, who did that? Dennis did not. He didn't do that. I don't think that was available back when he did it. Then that's how they're able to see the ghost dimension and see kind of like, cause when you look through that camera, you can see the blur in the middle of the room, which I guess is Toby maybe, or is it the ghost? I don't know exactly what it was. Yeah, you're right. They kind of threw too much at the viewer, and I wonder if it was because they were trying to crunch everything into one movie to finish it all up.
I just think it was all about the 3D element.
Yeah, that too.
They had to keep using 3D because they had to have all that shit happening on screen and all these things floating around and all that, because it, like, otherwise, what's the point of 3D?
Is this gimmick
nothing to see? I hope so, because I don't like movies like Avatar, things like that didn't rely on the 3D. It told a story, but when you're trying to cater to the 3D technology to give people something to see, throwing a yo-yo at the camera, all that bullshit. Like, there was like all these movies we've watched, we've never seen a physical substance moving around. I was like, why is this all of a sudden here? Again, I didn't know it was 3D when I watched it, but then I was like, why? Why is that? Why did they go that way? Because none of the other movies have done this, and it looks like shit. It doesn't feel real. This is supposed to be found footage, and it's obviously computer generated stuff. It's not really there.
And another thing I do have a question about. I want to get your guys. You see at the end of the movie, they do time traveling again, because they end up in Christie's house from the second movie, I think, right? Is it her house? In the basement down there, but you finally see the physical manifestation of Toby. It's a human legs or whatever. First of all, he's naked in front of that little girl. Yuck. And secondly, like, what was the point of Hunter if he was just going to be in an adult male form somehow? Like, who did he possess to get into that body? Like, it was very confusing. That's the okay, cool. Toby gets his body, but whose body and what the fuck was the point of Hunter? That's my biggest question at the end of the series. Something I hope they actually they clear up with this next movie that's coming out in March. So I guess they filmed it already. Although it takes them a week to film these. So
yeah, just by the cost of the 3D camera too.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're painting yourself into a corner by trying to use a gimmick or technology instead of focusing on storytelling and what's best for the film versus what's best for your gimmick and your 3D stuff.
Yeah, and it's a shame. Seth, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, a couple things here. It's been a while since I watched the Ghost Dimension, but was wasn't it implied that Hunter actually went through the the doorway at some point or something like that?
Yeah, because they show him with Christy and like in one of the ceremony things, I believe, with Christy and in the same room with them, I believe, which is odd because he's there with his mom,
Yeah,
as a child.
I just figured it has
But
something
what's
to
the
do
point of it, though? That's my question. What's the point of getting these kids together if like
Was he
something
like the
happened to Jesse, but
right? Well, is he like the future version of Hunter, like grown up? Because there is that time travel element that he goes in as a child, he comes out
who
in another
Jesse?
time. No, Hunter.
Oh, you
Hunter possessed by Toby. I don't know.
I didn't think about that. That's a good question because if he does go back in time and grows through the time from 1988 to 2007, I think it was in 2007 or something like that, 2006. He'd be in his 20s.
I should have rewatched these in
No,
preparation.
yeah,
But another thing I want to say too is like the 3D gimmick does not work with horror. It kills it. It always has. Friday 13th Part 3, it's a distraction for that movie.
Yeah.
It damn near killed Jaws 3. I mean, even with something like Saw 7, it you watch the movie in 2D
Jaws
because
3.
not everyone is gonna watch 3D, and when you watch like Saw 7, it throws off the color of the blood. All the blood is like pink in that movie.
Oh, I know it's bad. I didn't notice it, but you said something about it.
So it's like the 3D gimmick. It kills these movies just for a quick buck. They don't think of the longevity of these movies and how people watch them, on DVD and Blu-ray or on TV.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them weren't printed in 3D when they started selling them to mass markets like VHS. And you're right, yeah, it's like Friday the 13th Part 3. Like the eyeball scene isn't as effective, and it's not effective anyway. But yeah, I agree, 100%.
I mean, and I don't even like 3D. I've seen some movies in 3D, but if I have a choice between 3D and 2D, I'm going to 2D.
Same here. I saw Resident Evil, the fourth one, in 3D, and it was cool. It was cool seeing it in the theater because like the credits were coming around you, which it was really cool to see that. That was a cool effect. But the rest of the movie, I didn't notice shit that really did anything for me. I don't really. Yeah, I'm not a 3D person. Somebody tried to get me to go see The Force Awakens in 3D. I was like, I'd rather see it regular. How I'm going to watch it from now, for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Kathy says she thinks she'll revisit The Haunting. If we're talking about the 60s version, absolutely, because the 90s version blows. I'm a big fan of is it 63, I believe?
Yeah, 63.
That will end up on our ranking.
One last thing I was going to say about...
Hold on one sec, Seth.
Okay.
Paranormal Activity 7 is coming out in March of 2022. Go ahead, Seth.
And this actually kind of ties into that. What I was going to say is Ghost Dimension didn't have the same writer from 2 through 5.
Really?
So, and I think that kind of shows it's kind of a reflection of that. It's different writers, and that's the interesting thing about the new one coming out is they did get him to come back. Christopher Landon.
Maybe he'll clean it up.
He went on to make the Happy Death Day movies and Freaky.
That's fun. I haven't seen Freaky yet, but those are fun movies.
Yeah, he's the guy who wrote Paranormal Activity 2 through 5, and I think he actually directed the Mark ones.
Well, it's like Dexter. They're talking about getting a second chance at an ending, and maybe they'll get a second chance at an ending with this one. There's another Purge movie coming. Actually, I forgot we were going to do the Purge this week, but I fucked up the schedule. And the Purge movies are blah, in my opinion. You guys like the Purge movies? Yeah, maybe we don't need to cover them. I'm not a really fan.
Yeah, I don't think I want to dive into those things.
Yeah,
I like them, but definitely not enough to really like sit here and talk about them. I like the first one because it's a home invasion movie, but
Yeah, you're right about that, Byron. It was the last good Paranormal Activity. We'll see what happens next year. The Purge 2. I like the first one with Ethan Hawke.
I did like the second one more than
The second one was good too. Matt Saracen was in it. But yeah, the first, like I've seen it when I got back to the theaters to see The Quiet Place 2. I saw the trailer for the Forever Purge or whatever, and I'm like, it just didn't do anything for me.
second one is the one with Michael T. Williamson. He like the helm of the shop. Is that like he's protecting?
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, it was cool because you got to see what actually happened in the city. Because the first one was like a home invasion type movie, and then the second one you get to see the anarchy on the. I think it was called Anarchy. Actually, I like that. Plus, Crossbones, from the MCU. What's his name? He was good in that movie.
Frank Grillo.
Yeah, I liked him. He was good.
He was totally the Punisher.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He was like the
Punisher. I was like, he should be the Punisher, but they got a good Punisher. But yeah, the Purge movies are. I don't know. Are they horror? Let's start that conversation again.
The first one is.
Yeah. Oh man, it's good too. I do like the first one. It is Ethan Hawke, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I liked it, and Cersei is his wife, right, from Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Or as I know her, Sarah Connor.
I would actually mind. Who's Christopher Landon?
That's the guy I was talking about. The guy that wrote.
Okay.
The Paranormal Activity movie.
You never know what's going to happen. Halloween franchise will probably be back up to grab in 2025. So 2028 will be the next Halloween movie after Halloween ends. I'm calling it now. 50-year anniversary. Anyway, that's our show for the evening. Let's do some quick final thoughts on the Paranormal Activity movies. And are you excited about the next movie, Seth?
It depends on what they're going to do. There's really no information about it out right now. I feel like
that's good though.
I feel like they got to a point where with the Ghost Dimension, they almost kind of resolved the overall arc of the 6 movies, and I feel like there's a lot of potential to go forward now that Toby he's been manifested and he can come out into the real world to see how that plays out. If they actually do it,
if they keep that, you're going to have to change course. They can't do the found footage thing anymore. In my opinion, I agree with that. Nate, what about you? Final thoughts?
I have a lot of respect just because of what they pulled off. It's not a series I'm going to go back and look at a lot. I really don't have a feeling towards the 7th film. I could live without it and be fine. Like they're not, there was a time where I thought Paranormal Activity should be like on a top 10 list. I don't know so much now. But when you're talking about found footage, it's one of the top 10 just because, I like that it's simple. I think that was the effectiveness of it this is how, like, most hauntings aren't Poltergeist or Amityville Horror. This is the shit that people experience. This is the shit that people capture on film. And so I get why people watch it and are bored to death because they're so used to seeing. It's just like the same people who bitched about Blair Witch because you never saw The Witch. And I'm like, but I didn't need to see The Witch.
By the way.
Yeah, I didn't need to see her. It wasn't about seeing her. What my imagination created about that character was far better than some actress in a costume or whatever it would have been.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think all I know is, like I said, I saw it in the theaters, and it's one of the most effective films I've ever seen to really grab an audience, hold their attention, and make them scream and jump.
And the entire audience too, though.
The entire audience.
The entire audience, yeah.
Those videos you see are not bullshit. That was the experience I had with the first three movies when I saw them in theaters. I don't see that a lot with movies. I don't see that a lot with horror movies. And people may say, oh, they're cheap. But again, these movies also aren't jump scares. They're, like you said, they're not. You're watching and you're seeing creepy shit. You're hearing noises. You're hearing knocks. You're hearing and seeing things that aren't normal. And that's what scares you about real haunting videos, is that that's not supposed to happen. This is not normal. What is this? What is causing that? It's all about the unknown, not about Reverend Cain walking up to your door singing God is in his holy temple. Even though that's scary as shit, I love him to death, but that's movie ghost story. This is the kind of shit that people experience more than the extreme.
I'm looking up Paranormal Activity on Where's the Jump, because people. That's one thing I've heard. Oh, there's a lot. It's just jump scares. It's not at all. I don't think there are very many at all. Of course, there's an. But yeah, I'm not excited about it. I'm gonna watch the new one. I like the series. I do check it out at minimum once a year. At minimum once a year. So 10 jump scares, 2 major, 8 minor in this movie, in the first movie. And this actually has time codes for when there are the jump scares. I didn't know. I like this website you found, Nate.
And a lot of those jump scares are probably I'm moving the camera around and there's someone there. Not
right. Like when Mika runs into because Katie he's like he turns around and she's right there. He's like, what the fuck? Because he jumped.
Those next type week, of scares that we experience where we turn around and someone's there, we didn't know they were there. Oh, you scared me. I didn't know you were there.
My son.
Shit. Yeah.
He was creeping around the doorway, and I'm like in my bedroom. I get up out of my bed. I go out there to look. I didn't see him, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" So next week we are taking a week off. Nate's gonna go get a suntan, and I don't know. We may do something. I haven't decided yet, but we're coming back the following week, and we're going to talk about the Rex series that has been planned for a while. Seth and Nate have been trying to get me to watch those movies. Jared's been trying to get me to watch those movies. I have all 4 on Blu-ray, and I'm going to watch all 4 of them, and we're going to break them down. Probably going to spend a lot of time, I'm guessing, on the first one and probably the second one, though. So we may do something live. Seth, do you want to do something for fun? Thursday, we can. Doesn't matter.
I'm game. I'm game.
Nate, I don't want Nate to miss anything. He's like, do an episode where there's something I don't want to talk about. I'm like, The Purge?
So do the Purge.
I don't want to talk about the Purge.
What do you dislike, Nate? Let's see a list.
That's a good question. Yeah. Other than Italian horror, what do you dislike?
We're gonna get Nate to talk about what he dislikes for once.
Yeah. Okay. Nate,
go.
Here's your challenge for the night. When you're bored, top 25 movies you don't like.
There are some. My philosophy is why dwell on shit I don't like.
Yeah.
People dwell too much on negative and stuff they hate. I'm like, if I see something I don't like, I just don't fucking go back to it. I don't watch it. I don't talk about it. It's like, it's not me. It's not my thing. So I don't understand this. People like for 20 years obsess over shit that they didn't like. It's like, let it go, okay?
Let it go. So we've got a request to talk about The Descent. Nate's probably wants to be around. Yeah, he's going to want to be around for that one. We'll have to wait. We'll put that on the schedule, though, Kathy. Thanks for the request. If anybody has any requests for something they'd like us to talk about that we haven't talked about, because we do have on our YouTube channel, which is The Horror Syndicate, or go to youtube.com/The Horror Syndicate, you can find all of our past videos. I just realized that our commentary from Jason Lives was never published. I published that last night, so it's there to watch now for anybody who wants to watch. Last year, we did a commentary for Jason Lives, the best Jason Friday the 13th movie. I'll mute you. I will mute you. And I also I noticed there's a few of them. I'm going to publish them throughout the week next week. But the second part or the third part of our Texas Chainsaw Massacre series, which was the fourth movie, the remake and its prequel, and then the 2 other movies, Texas Chainsaw 3D and Leatherface. That show is now up and available also. So there's a lot of stuff on our YouTube channel to check out. We will absolutely 100% do The Descent because it's a good, damn near great horror movie. And it was one of our top 5, I think, of the 2000s, wasn't it? Top 5? Top 10 for sure. We have that show available as well. What's that?
I think it was number 2.
Blood for Dracula. What? I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's even been announced yet. Insidious 5. People keep talking about that. Final chapter is my.
It has.
Yeah. And Nate's gone. It has.
Yeah, actually, what's his name? Can't think of his name. Fuck, the actor from the first 2.
Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, he's actually directing it.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see how that is. Because somebody put up a trailer, and I'm like, hey, that's fake. Or not trailer, a poster. It's like, come on, people. Anyway, yeah, next week we're off. Maybe we'll do something if Nate tells us something he doesn't like. Maybe we can do that Italian horror show with Jared, since Jared didn't get to join in on this one. I'm gonna call that fool, acting all like he doesn't matter. He matters. Miss you, Jared. Anyway, Seth, anything before we go?
No. Fuck off.
Fuck off. All right. Everybody have a great evening. We will see you, if not next Thursday. We might do something else anyway, period, sometime. Like we did a Halloween Kills theory and all that shit. So we might do another video. Plenty of stuff to watch on our YouTube channel. Seriously, check it out. So hit the subscribe button. Tell all your friends to go subscribe to the Horror Syndicate on YouTube. We're trying to get to 702. Oh, no, we're there. Never mind. Our job is done. Have a good night.